Hi guys. Alright, we're back again with another lesson. I hope you guys are hope you had a great week, and hope you're enjoying the time spent at home with your families and everything. I know I am. We've been playing lots of games. Lots. Alright, today we have another lesson. Today we're going to talk about a guy named Nehemiah. Kind of easy name to pronounce. Can you guys say Nehemiah? Nehemiah. Good job. Alright, so Nehemiah followed Ezra. We just talked about Ezra last week. So, now I'll show the pictures in just a second. So we talked about how Ezra came out of timeout. God brought Ezra out of timeout so that he could help the people repent and show the people how to pray again, right? Yes. Because did they make good decisions all the time when they got back from timeout? No, they still made bad decisions. But Nehemiah came and he told them that, hey, you're not supposed to be doing this. Then you're not supposed to be doing this. And did the people listen to Ezra? Yes, they did. Good job. So, now we're going to talk about Nehemiah. But to talk about Nehemiah, we're going to go backwards just a little bit. Alright. So Nehemiah was, Nehemiah was one of the people who were still left in Babylon after Ezra took his second group. Now Nehemiah was a cupbearer. That means that he made sure, like he sat next to the king when he ate or drank, and he made sure that the king's food or drink wasn't poisoned. So Nehemiah would take a sip of the drink, or Nehemiah would take a bite of the food first. And if Nehemiah got sick, then the king knew that that food was not safe to eat. So, Nehemiah is what we called a cupbearer. And now he wasn't just cupbearer to someone who wasn't very important, like someone who owned a lot of land and they were rich because they owned a lot of land. Nehemiah was cupbearer to the king, the guy in charge of everything. But who's in charge of kings? Good job. God's in charge of kings. And God controls the kings, and God leads the kings to do what God wants them to do. So, Nehemiah heard from some relatives of his, because some relatives of Nehemiah went back to Jerusalem with one of the groups. But they came back and they said, hey, so the temple is rebuilt, but the walls are all over the ground. They're all destroyed. There's no walls to the city. And I don't think we still have that picture. But remember the picture? It was a while ago. But it had some soldiers taking the people away, and in the background was the city, but there was fire everywhere. If there's fire everywhere, do you think the city and the walls survived? Yeah, no. So the people had to go rebuild, and they rebuilt the temple, but they hadn't rebuilt the walls yet. So when Nehemiah heard that, he did something that was very brave. Let's see. In the Bible, it says that, where is it? I marked it. Okay. It says that Nehemiah decided to ask the king if he could go home. Now this is kind of a scary thing. Remember how Esther had to go talk to the king? Well, Nehemiah had to go talk to the king too. And it's like if you grow up and you have to talk to your boss and tell them why you can't work. Sometimes it gets a little bit scary. But who's in control of everything? Are kings and bosses in control of everything? Who's in control of the kings and the bosses? God is in control of everything, right? Just like God is in control of everything going on with the virus and everything going on with people being sick right now, God is still in control. So, let's see what happens. The king said to me," this is Nehemiah talking, so the king said to Nehemiah, "What do you request?" So I prayed to the God of heaven. This says Nehemiah made a really quick, "Oh dear Lord God, please give me the words that I need to say." Because sometimes you have to do that. You have to take a second, and you have to step back, and you have to make a very, very quick prayer. And does God still hear the quick prayers even if we talk really, 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 really fast and no one else can understand what we're saying? Yes, God still hears the really quick prayers that we say sometimes. And let's see what he says. So Nehemiah, after he prayed, Nehemiah said to the king, "If it pleases the king, and if I have found favor in your sight, I ask that you send me to Judah, to home, that I may rebuild it." So why did Nehemiah want to go home? He wanted to rebuild the walls of his city, and he wanted to rebuild all the houses. Good job. Let's see where the other part is. It says, "The king said to me, 'How long will your journey be? And when will you return?' It pleased the king to send me." So it made the king happy to send Nehemiah home. The king saw that Nehemiah was upset, and he knew this would make him happy, so he sent him on his way. God gave Nehemiah favor in the eyes of the king. He did the same thing that he did when Esther went to see the king. He gave him favor, so the king let him go. And it's got a lot of other things and a lot of other names. I'm not going to read it directly. But not only did the king let Nehemiah go, but he gave him letters to give to other kings along the way to say, "Hey, this is Nehemiah. He has my permission to go to Judah. He has my permission to rebuild the walls." It's like if your mom sends you to the grocery store by yourself when you're older and you have a car and you can drive, and your mom says, "Hey, this letter is for someone to tell what groceries I need. This letter is for if you get pulled over or whatever. This is for that." Not that would actually happen, but it's hard to find a good example for it, So the king took care of Nehemiah. He made sure that no one would attack him. He made sure that none of these other kings would try to kidnap him and send him back to Babylon. So he didn't just give Nehemiah the little bit he wanted. He gave him protection, and he gave him all of these things to get him home. Let's see what happens when he got home. So it says Nehemiah asked the king if he could return to Jerusalem. And the walls of the city had been destroyed. Now, let's think for a second. Because it looks like Nehemiah's thinking right here. Let's think for a second. Are walls really that important? If you build up a castle tall enough and strong enough, people can't get in, right? Let's think about this for a second. Or let's look at it. So, if you build a tower, and it's a super amazing tower that's really tall and durable and no one can break it, and it doesn't have a wall, would it be really easy for... Oh, nuts. Where did I put my little person? Oh, here it is. Would it be really easy for enemy troops to come along and attack your castle? Yes, it would be really easy because they wouldn't have to worry about getting through a wall or climbing the wall or anything. But if you have a thick, good tower and you build a wall around it, and you have a whole army try to come and attack it, can they get in? No. What do they have to do first? They have to tear down the wall. You're right. So they have to spend all of their time and all of their energy trying to break down the wall. And then by the time they finally, if they get the wall broken, by the time they finally get by the wall, the enemy they've spent all of their time and all of their energy, so they're tired. They want to go home, and maybe there's guards on the wall that got rid of some of the enemy, so there's less people. They wouldn't be able to defend themselves as easily if they're attacking the tower. So walls are like armor. They help protect. So do you think it would be a good thing or a bad thing for the people of Israel to start rebuilding the walls? It would be a good thing. It would be a very wise decision. Let's get this out of the way real quick. Alright. So that's what Nehemiah did. And he talked to the people. And he said, we've got the temple rebuilt. We've got church again. We've established worship. Ezra did all of that. But what Nehemiah said is, now that we have the worship and now that we have the temple, we need to work on rebuilding the houses, and we need to rebuild the walls. Because they have the temple, but if they don't have a wall, could enemies come and attack and kidnap them again? Yeah, they could pretty easily. And so what do you think the people did? Now, the people had already rebuilt the temple. They had probably already started rebuilding their houses. They may have started growing food. Do you think they said, no, we don't need walls. We're fine. We can fight. Do you think they said that? No. The people started cheering and saying, we will build our walls. So that's what Nehemiah did. He trained the men to build the walls. But, let's see if I can find it easily. Jeez, where did it go? Fantastic. While they were rebuilding the walls, there were some other kings from other countries that came, and they started laughing at the Israelites. And they said, ha 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 ha, you'll never get them rebuilt. We'll come and invade. This is useless. You're silly for doing this. And sometimes people do that today. Sometimes if you go to church, or if you pray while you're at school, whenever you guys go back to school, or if you pray in a restaurant, sometimes people might think that's silly, because some people think that obeying God is silly. But is it silly to obey God? No. We love God, so we obey God. And it's not silly at all. But some people say it is. And that's what people were saying to the Israelites. They said, it's silly. You shouldn't rebuild the walls. So what Nehemiah did was, I know we've been taking pictures of the book as I've been talking. I'm not sure if you guys can see it very well. He trained the people to rebuild the wall with wall supplies in one hand and swords in the other. So that if anyone tried to attack them, they could easily put down their building supplies, fend off whoever was trying to attack them, and rebuild the wall again. So Nehemiah didn't just teach them how to rebuild the wall, he taught them how to fight while doing it. Which is important, because sometimes you need to fight people off. So, that's what they did. They got the walls rebuilt, and they were stronger than ever. And do you think the people just sat and went and took a nap after they rebuilt the walls? No. Do you think they were happy that they got their city protected again? Yes, they were thrilled. They were so excited that they didn't have to worry about people coming into their cities again. So they went and had a huge party, and it was amazing. And I can't find it because there are way too many words and I did not plan to talk about that part. But, important things. Did the people listen to Nehemiah? Yes, they did. They rebuilt the walls and they listened when Nehemiah taught them how. Did Nehemiah listen to God? Yes, Nehemiah listened to God. Let's see. Are bosses and kings in control of everything? Do they get to decide what to do, when to do it? Who's in control of the bosses and the kings? God is in control of the bosses and the kings. Good job. So, and does God, let's see, is God in control even when things go bad? Because I know there's that verse that a lot of people like to say that all things work together for good. All things do work together for good for those who love God. But sometimes, does it seem like bad things happen a lot? Like right now, we can't go to church, we can't go to birthday parties, we can't go to a restaurant. Does it seem like a lot of bad things are happening all at once? Yes. Is God still in control? Yes, God is still in control. Yes. And a lot of good things are going to happen out of it. Okay? Even if it feels like not a lot of good things are happening. God is still in control. So, that is it for today. And you guys go tell your parents and everyone all about Nehemiah and how Nehemiah rebuilt the walls. So, parents, if you guys are looking at the verses, I read from Nehemiah chapter 2 mainly. I cannot tell you the verses because I read different ones than the ones I wrote down. But it was Nehemiah 2 through about 9 is the passage that I read from. So, you guys have a great week, and I will hopefully see you soon.